Welcome back for another strategy video on Clans of Caledonia. My name is Ollie Helm. In this gameplay commentary video, I will play as Clan Cunningham, though not by choice. Like I've done in past commentary videos, I'll give my overall thoughts of what I am seeing and thinking about at the beginning of each round, and then advance the game to key moments where an interesting or difficult decision was made. Cunningham is one of the most loved clans by newer players because they seemingly get way more money than the other clans. While that may be true, they do not necessarily get more income. I'll show you what I mean during the game. Alright, I've got Cunningham, Ferguson, and McDonald as the clans for this game. I almost always look at ports first, and right away there's a problem for Cunningham. There is no basic port. For me, the basic port is a binary choice on Cunningham. If it is not there, I do not want Cunningham. That extra 24 pounds of income from milk that the basic port gives at the end of round 1 is necessary for Cunningham to get any kind of advantage, as we'll see later on. There are only two good starting ports, the processed goods and the reuse port, which arguably is not that great given the £3 cost. Therefore, the ports aren't great for Ferguson either. Well, what about McDonald? The story for McDonald is the board layout. There are 4 big locks, including a very large central lock, so that is quite favorable for McDonald. Regarding contracts, there are 3 excellent contracts, and since each clan will be able to reach the processed goods port, there is no urgency to being first player. Finally, with the glory tiles, given that the first round glory is for edge tiles, that favors Ferguson with 3 starting workers on the edge, and to a lesser extent McDonald, who could easily get 2 fishers on the edge. So to keep it simple, we'll just say there's a 3-point advantage for both compared to Cunningham. So putting it all together, I'm not willing to pay much for any of the clans. Being first player has a small advantage and no one clan stands out. I will bid though, because my opponents may think there is one clan better than the others, so I need to make sure they pay up for it. I would be okay paying around 10 points for first choice. Turns out there was lots of interest in winning the auction as both other players stayed in the running after my final bid of 14. Then again, as soon as I declined to bid, the next player also declined as well. I see this pattern frequently where 2 people decline in succession and leave the third person hanging. The next bidding round went for 7. I also see this pattern frequently where the second clan goes for about half the price of the first clan. I fully expected that if I bid 8, my opponent would decline. I would rather my opponent choose the second clan and I get a 7-point head start on them. And not a complete surprise that they took McDonald. I might have even done the same had I won the bid. It just seems so wrong to take McDonald over Cunningham because the popular thinking is that Cunningham is the best clan and McDonald the worst. So I'm really happy in my position because I have a 16 and 7-point head start against my opponents with a clan that should still be competitive. The first 2 worker placements were expected, and that left me with an interesting choice for my workers. There are 2 Forest 1 hexes to choose from in order to access the processed goods port. The edge tile is good for the round 1 glory, and it prevents Ferguson from cheap access to the port, but there's nowhere to expand to. The island will get taken by McDonald before I can get there, so I took the bottom Forest 1 hex. For my second worker, the reuse port is good, but there is a risk of being blocked by Ferguson, and again, nowhere to expand cheaply. So, better to place on the central lock for easy expansion to cheap hexes. Each of these 4 hexes has advantages, and I chose this one because there's a nice 1 hex next door for my cow, and possibly easy access to the switcheroo port. McDonald placed our second worker next to my nice 1 hex. So much for that. I guess they think it is nice for them too. Smart placement by McDonald. Round 1. The goal is to place cows down. 1 cow will go on one of these 4 hexes to save on shipping to get to the port. Hopefully I can get this one because it is an edge tile. The other 3 cows can go on these hexes depending on what McDonald does in the central lock with these hexes. As expected, McDonald took away my nice 1 hex. Too bad. At least I get to choose a contract now, and the best contract on the board is still available, so that is helpful. My 4 hex is available, so that's nice, but land claims around the central lock have been extensive, meaning my ability to move across the central lock will be more expensive. Here you can see the advantages of McDonald and Ferguson with their ability to quickly expand, while I waste precious turns and money getting shipping. For my last cow, I had the option of going on this 2 hex, but I wanted to leave it open for the second round so that I could buy cheap wool to complete my 3 wool contract. This was a risky move because Ferguson could easily take the hex on their first move in round 2. At the end of round 1, Cunningham had 0 pounds of benefit. The milk is sold at the end of the round, so it's only beneficial for the next round. Ferguson had a 12-pound benefit for starting with 2 lock shipping, and has not gained a benefit yet from being able to access a third port, but did get some benefit from being able to access several extra cheap hexes. It is hard to quantify, but let's call it 5 pounds, for a total round 1 benefit of 17 pounds. McDonald also had a 12-pound benefit from equivalent shipping and placed 5 workers in the water for a 5-pound benefit. I also count a 2-pound benefit for being able to place miners at a cost of a forester. All 8 workers were placed, so that means 4 miners for an 8-pound benefit. Let's also add 5 pounds for access to cheap hexes. All combined, McDonald has a round 1 benefit of 30 pounds. Before talking about round 2, I want to come back to my point at the beginning of the video that while Cunningham earns more money than other clans, it does not necessarily earn more income. Cunningham has 57 pounds and 1 wool. That wool can be sold for 4 pounds, so the total income for Cunningham is 61 pounds. If we do the same for the other 2 clans and sell the goods for money, then McDonald has 60 pounds and Ferguson has 64 pounds. If we look at the assets for each clan, which are what produce the income, Cunningham has 4 cows worth 36 pounds, plus a 6-pound forester, 10-pound miner, an extra merchant worth 4 pounds, and 4 shipping worth 16 pounds, for a total of 72 pounds. The same calculation for McDonald yields 68 pounds and for Ferguson 80 pounds. Generally, the more assets you have, the more income you can produce, although some assets are better than others. For example, a forester returns 67% each round, but shipping returns, well, nothing, except the ability to reach a further destination. So it's not worthless, but it is certainly a much lower quality asset. Now, you may argue that you are using your goods for contracts instead of selling them for income, but that doesn't change the value of that good. Whether you use the wool for a contract or sell it, it is still worth 4 pounds. Hopefully this detailed explanation is helpful for understanding the weakness of Cunningham in this game. Okay, on to round 2. Time to get workers down and get access to the other ports. These options to the north are nice. To the southwest, there are some possibilities and maybe even a chance to get to the port. And in the east, I need to secure access to this port. Too many things to do. Oh yes, and also complete a contract with cheap wool. Though I'm not so sure I want to do that anymore, as the new contracts are not exciting and I don't want to spend precious money on placing non-workers if I can avoid it. Oh right, I totally forgot. There is this beautiful miner hex right next to a cow, so I can get some cheap milk. That is even better than a worker. For 3 pounds, I earn a one-time amount of 8 pounds, whereas a forester costs 6 pounds and will earn me 12 pounds for the remaining 3 rounds. Even better is that the milk money comes immediately in round 3, while the forester money is spread over the 3 remaining rounds. Well, I managed to get 4 workers down, so made some progress. Total round 2 benefit was 28 pounds based on having 4 invisible merchants and the difference between the price of milk at the start of the round and the 8 pounds it sold for. I can't claim the whole 8 pounds as benefit because if I had the merchants, I would have been able to sell the milk for 5 pounds. Once again, just before we start round 3, let's do a check on income and assets. You may think that the game is over now because I earned over 100 pounds, so easy victory, right? But I have few goods and am behind on points. In the chart, you can see the income generated in assets for each clan. While I am ahead on both metrics, note that I am already 9 points behind in glory, and McDonald has an extra 9 points already from contracts. Had McDonald's not completed their 2 sheep contract, then they would have almost as much income and assets as Cunningham. Okay, on to round 3. Ferguson allowed me to get the cheap 1 hex, so I have access to the port. The reused port is out of reach, so I will focus on getting my remaining workers down and completing my contract. Fortunately, the 2 hex next to the sheep is still available, so I'll start there. Otherwise, not much else to say about this round. Processed goods are very cheap, so I upgraded all my workers to get more money for buying goods. Total round 3 benefit was £19 based on £15 for the 3 milk I bought at £3 each, and £4 for the other 4 milk, as the price of milk was £7 at the start of the round. You could argue it should be more than £1 per milk, but remember, anyone can put a cow down to produce milk and sell it at £7, so we are looking at the excess price as the benefit. A very high milk price benefits every seller, so it is no benefit to Cunningham. Also, you could argue there is an extra £12 benefit for the extra 3 invisible merchants. I don't include it as I am likely only using those invisible merchants once in this game. Round 4. If we look at income and assets again, now we see that the Cunningham engine is starting to take off. So Cunningham starts slow and ends strong, while McDonald's starts strong and ends slow, or something like that. And I guess Ferguson is somewhere in between. With this round, it is time for me to start completing contracts, especially since the glory is for export goods. Unfortunately, the contracts require lots of whiskey, and my 3 merchants will get used up buying cheap cheese for my contract. There is a chance of still getting to the reuse port, so I might try for that. The hexes are expensive, but I don't have anywhere cheap to go, so I'm in a bit of a bind. After completing my contract, I made the move for the port. It is too expensive to buy whiskey for contract, but if I get to the reuse port, then I can use it to duplicate the processed goods port to get my whiskey. Ferguson spent most of their money, so it is unlikely they will be blocking me on the 3 hex. Now that I'm at the port, I can take the 2 cow, 2 whiskey contract, which not only gives me money back, but gets me 4 tobacco, which is the least common of the 3 export goods. Total round 4 benefit was £8 for the milk, as the market price for milk was £6. Round 5. To start this round, I will revert back to how I normally show the relative standings of the 3 clans based on points, since goods are now only used for points and not sold for income, and assets are no longer needed for producing income either. It's a close one, and I am still behind, but as mentioned in the last round, that is expected, and I should score more points in this round than my opponents. The question is, will it be enough to overcome the deficit? McDonald needs to complete their contract with the first move of the round, so Ferguson gets first pick of the contracts. They have no tobacco, so will likely take a tobacco contract. I have no cotton, but there is a really nice 2 cow contract available. Generally speaking, when I have lots of money to spend and not so many goods to use, I like the animal contracts. It also depends on the price of goods and the number of merchants I have too. If I'm lucky, the 2 bread, 1 cheese contract will still be available for me. There goes the cotton contract. That may have been an error on my part, because now I can only hope for a cotton contract through the building bonus. On the other hand, it is looking like sugarcane will be worth 5 points each at the moment, as no one is going to take the 4 whiskey contract, but that could easily change with the building bonuses. Let's put a 4th bread down for the building bonus. Shoot! I need cotton, but I get nothing but sugarcane. A couple nice contracts though, especially if I can keep sugarcane at 5 points. I took this contract because I would rather have the money than an extra merchant. Both McDonald and Ferguson got contracts from building bonuses, and they both got cotton. This is great news for me. Cotton will now finish the game at 3 points, so I don't really need any of it to balance my export goods. To be clear, cotton is at 21, tobacco will be at 17 as I can complete the 2 cow, 2 cheese contract, and sugarcane will also be at 17 because someone will complete the 1 wool, 2 whiskey contract. I am the only one who can still get a building bonus, as I have the switcheroo port, so I can make sure I keep the most advantageous contract. Ferguson took the 1 wool, 2 whiskey contract as expected, so now it is building bonus time. The tobacco contract is the only good one here. It's small, but completable, which means I will at least tie McDonald for completed contracts and earn an extra 3 points in the most completed contracts competition. I will need to put a sheep down so as not to lose my settlements, but I should still have enough money to place the whiskey down for 1 last building bonus. Last chance for a contract? Nope. I don't even think I could have gotten anything, but it's always fun to see what comes up. More importantly, placing the whiskey gives me another settlement, and I will be able to tie McDonald on settlements for another 3 points from the most settlements competition. Close finish, with the difference being the last contract that I completed, small as it was. Ferguson played the better game, but because of the auction, I was able to snatch the victory. 171 is a relatively low score for Cunningham, which goes to show that it is not always immediate victory with this clan. Total round 5 benefit was £8 for a total game benefit of £63, though £0 in the first round. That's it. Hope you found my commentary helpful. Feel free to leave comments below and happy playing!